Ah, yes. What up, y'all? Try to get some of the taco meat. Take a walk to the gym in a second. But yeah, just wanted to go over that. In the thumbnail that I will put on this video, you will see uh, just one example that many of the words that they will connect to uh, German is actually a Iroquois word. We'll say it like that. I mean, you say Iroquois, we'll say Iroquois. You want to say haste'shrowanë, we'll say Iroquois. I want to say Seneca, Iroquois. I'll just say that it's Noguewe, right? Noguewe acá for these names. But we find that many words have been attributed to German when actually they are Ogueweaka. Yeah. And out of all the dictionaries, I would say the Seneca dictionary is the most beneficial. You know, I think that they shared a little too much and they knew what they were doing. When you go dig into the other languages, you're gonna find some interesting stuff. But you know, it's you have people have to show their work. So how I arrived at the uh, hypothesis that I created is step by step shown in the process. See, if you come across this information and you can't show us step by step the process, your work, then we have a problem, you know, big problem. So, there is a set of dictionaries, there is a thesaurus that one can use. And then you have dictionaries and whatever thesaurus, that's the person's name. So, you know, that you can go by for, you know, etymology and definition. Cool. But you don't have a heritage dictionary. And if you don't have that, you're missing the bigger picture. Uh, with the heritage dictionary, then you're going to understand what neology is. Uh, Neologism, however you want to say it, a ism. A neology with a ism. So, when you see the word Slav, you know, there is a neology to it. And, you know, that's esclavane. So, you pull up the exclavane, you know, and you'll understand that it's connected to something. And then you'll be able to pull it all out. Then you can show and prove in detail that things are not what they have been portrayed to us to be. Check out some, y'all. Got some greens on the pot. Yeah. So I was supposed to be up out of here uh, to the house, then out there to Palm Springs, and overslept, so I'm having a little issue. So anyway, You know, you see the word. The word is haste, haste. You go through haste, and you will find that you know it it means something. And then you go pull up haste in the Seneca dictionary, you're going to find that the definitions match. Now, neology, things change. So you have pseudoscientific language comparison, then you have pseudo language comparison. But when the exact sound in in the phrasing of the Seneca language, you have people that will say that, oh no, that's how the women say it. That's an absolute lie. And I will challenge anybody that's a teacher of the Seneca language. I know for a fact the Seneca language is just as bad as Metanetter. You know, that's why they put the year 10,000. They say 10,000 years ago, the Seneca language, the Iroquois language was invented. That's why they do that. You know, it's connected to something very long ago. Whenever they're doing that, they're 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 being sneaky about the language. So they took the language and put it into a dictionary. And when you pull out these words and you really look into the diacritical marks in the dictionary that's telling you how to pronounce these words, you will laugh every time you hear a Native American speak. I'm telling y'all, many Native Americans did not get here till the 20th century. You know, a lot came in the 19th century, but you know, uh, uh, by the end of the 19th century and the early 20th century, a lot of Native Americans came to America. Yeah, I'm just got to be honest. I have Native American ancestry. All the Native American tribes, all of them around here. If you talk to the ones who are authentic, who are going to be honest, like I am, then they're going to tell you that yeah, you go look into the great grandparents of are what you would call Native American looking, the Asian looking people and all that type of stuff. That they're darker. And then you can ask yourself, well, how'd y'all get so light? So then we have to go through all that, and they're gonna take you down a whole bunch of paths and circles instead of just being honest. That you guys are actually the progenitors of the Barbary pirate situation, the Esclavane situation, having children with the girls, uh, the Kanas, auctioning off their women for the things that they needed, rather be their daughters, nieces, or whatever, and granddaughters, to keep something going or whatever. The story's all over the place, and it's just what it is. It's the Esclavane story. So anybody talking about the transatlantic slave trade, you are misappropriating Slav story. And then the part that I definitely have to mention, you know, definitely have to mention is if we have an issue where the so-called years of slavery is a lie, and a lot of people having an issue saying they enslaved my ancestors, and I got an issue with them, political this, political that, left, right, whatever. Even both sides will agree that some supposed slavery happened. When you talk to a KKK member, they're going to tell you something that no NOI or whatever groups of people from Malcolm to whoever who talk to the KKK, they're not going to tell you the truth. The truth is the KKK was a slave revolt, and they were fighting, you know, to stop what was going on. That's why the Man's Law, the Man's Act, can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. These things were going on. Um, it gets wild. The truth hurts. Uh, and I'm glad that I could share. And it feels like a great deal of weight being lifted that I can actually express that my lighter shade of skin comes from people who they were told to be the slave masters when they were the slaves. And then the ones being told to be the slaves and went through 400 years of slaves were actually the masters. And for me to have ancestors that actually did those things, it's crazy. that means that I have ancestors that had pale slaves. It's the truth. It's really hard to comprehend because of movies and the propaganda that they've been pushing. So what happens is you have the children, the Barbary pirate situation. You have the situation with the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians enslaved them from Russia, all through India and all that stuff. They give you this so-called caste story. Yeah, man. There was a Swami who exposed that all those stories were lies. That all the stories they talk about India, lies. There were people who've been exposed long before R.I.P. Baba Walter Williams, Uncle Wally. Before Uncle Wally, before Anatolia Flamenco, there were all kind of people who lived during the times of them making these fake historical accounts, these polemics, and all these so-called events. There are people that lived during that time that were saying, "Hey, these people are lying," you know. And if you really had ancestors that were movers and shakers after the catastrophic events that happened that riddled the 19th century. The 19th century is riddled with catastrophic events and world-changing events. And I mean, it's just, there's like 3 of them in the 19th century alone. Man, stuff gets deep. So, on my path from apartment to house, you know what I'm saying? I thought that I should share that, that it is true that the English language is from America, that it's not just the words that they're sharing with y'all. No, all of them. And when you start pulling up the Latin and stuff, it's all of them. It's all the words. So that's why in the description, I'm trying to explain to y'all, see these words, I know how they left America and went to Europe. We got people who talk about the American colonial, American, whatever the hell, colonization that went over there in Africa and did all those great things, but it didn't happen during the time that they say. There's a lot of things that happened in the past, but they put it back 100 years. They'll put it back a significant amount of time to it really throws people off. So there's a whole lot of stuff with us seeing wars where the French are fighting against the West Africans, and you're seeing them, look, they have all these West African rulers' heads, but they're not telling you, no, that's the slave revolt. That's the Barbary pirate slave revolt when the pale faces revolted against their Barbary slave masters. Yeah, man, truth is a very interesting thing, y'all. Let me get my ass in the gym, though.